We all know that as part of the sale process, buyers need predictability, consistency. What does that really mean at the end of the day? Buyers are concerned that when there's a change of ownership, that the performance of the company may not be the same after the sale. You as a seller, you know your customers, you know your employees, you know your systems, you know your processes, you know how your business works. The day of a closing, that's going to change. A buyer will take over and start putting their footprint, start putting their personality, their processes, their procedures on your company. As a seller, part of your job in the sale process is to give the buyer the reassurance, reduce their uncertainty, and move it into certainty about the predictability of future performance after the sale. As part of the strengths and weakness assessment of your company, we typically look at 5 areas. The first of the 5 areas that we focus on is legal. What do we mean by that? We break it into 2 buckets or categories. The first is corporate structure. How is your company organized? Is it a limited liability company, a limited partnership, a C corporation or an S corporation? Who owns it? What does the ownership structure look like? Do you have profit sharing plans? Do you have people that participate in the exit when you sell your company? Are there minority shareholders? The second category of legal that we talk about are contracts. Customer contracts, vendor contracts, critical third-party contracts. Second of 5 focus areas that we look at, we call finance. What does that mean? It's not only financial statements, predictability of financial reporting, and the balance sheets, but there's a couple of other aspects that you need to be aware of that are important. Buyers, when they get your financial due diligence and they'll look at your financial performance, will typically build a post-closing financial model. The more information that you know and have about the way a buyer is looking at your business, the more educated you are on negotiating a transaction, including the purchase price. Running these financial models so that you can evaluate what your business looks like after a closing puts you on a better footing to negotiate with a buyer. The third area we focus on is human capital. So why do we call it human capital instead of HR? Most people call their employees HR, and we don't. We refer to it as human capital. The reason is that your people are important. They're important for your business, they're important for the livelihood, they're important for the continuity of the company. And they're going to be equally important to a buyer. But why do we not call it HR instead of human capital? The people that work for you are a part of the capital of your business. They're part of the foundation of your business. The fourth focus area, sales and marketing. Why do we focus on sales and marketing? Remember that the objective of a buyer is predictable revenue, predictable results, predictable performance after a closing. We look at it as 2 sides of the balance sheet. We have the top half of the balance sheet, which is revenue, and the bottom half of the balance sheet, which are the expenses. The top half of the balance sheet, we have to have a predictable way of convincing a buyer that there are sales that will continue after the closing. This is a typical weakness in companies because usually sellers of family-owned businesses are comfortable with their sales pipeline. But part of this process is being persuasive, convincing the buyer that you can replicate after you're gone the sales pipeline, because so many companies, the sales pipeline is so dependent on the seller that when that seller goes away, a buyer legitimately is concerned about the predictability and consistency of that sales revenue and the sales processes. Shoring that up so that a buyer can't reduce the purchase price is obviously a key way in which the sellers maintain the high price for their business. The fifth focus area are IT, systems, and processes. So why do we focus on that? Obviously, a buyer that wants to come in and buy your company is going to want to grow it. It's one of the reasons we call the program Growth to Exit. Your IT systems, your processes that you use in your business are critically important. Now, the problem is many sellers are doing business today the way that they've done business in the past. You have to be in a position of evaluating what systems and processes do we have? Are they antiquated? Do they need to be refreshed? And what systems and processes could we put in place to make our business more profitable? We talked about modeling What does a post-closing financial performance and metrics look for your company? Part of that process is evaluating what systems and processes you can embed in your company so that a buyer has confidence that those systems and processes will yield to predictable results after a closing.